All right, here's some instructions in video form about feeding the animals. All right, so the doggies in our mudroom here, they've got these 3 containers. Their food is right there. There's water there. It's pretty full. Extra food is in this little closet. And what we typically do is fill up all 3 of these and hold them, and the dogs will just look at you and don't hand them to them until they sit down and are quiet, and they know to do that. Then the next thing is over here in this little bar area. This guy we use for warm water. So we just fill these containers up with warm water. The hot water is that way. This is cold, that's hot. Fill those up, pop them in that bag, and then head down to the field with those, and those will soak Angel's food and make it mushy to where her old teeth can chomp it. In the mudroom too, you're welcome to use this coat. It's Carhartt coat, can't mess it up. Don't worry about it getting dirty. There's some overalls here that can be used. Some gloves down here that you're welcome to use as well. And yeah, there you go. So now I'm gonna walk outside. One other thing in this room, in this box, are a couple of headlamps. So I like this black diamond one personally, but you can use those to go out if it is dark outside. Out front and you're gonna be gone for a while, lock this door because they can jump up and pop this down. And the same thing, I always lock this one too, just in case. They usually can't get into the screened-in porch, but every now and then they will for some reason. And then the guest house door over there, they can also get into that one. So also welcome to use our muck boots. There's mine. One of the things too that Grace mentioned, I think in our little sheet, is the fence. So this black wire is the not so invisible fence. Dogs stay in, goats stay out of it. And if it's beeping up on the porch, it means there's a disconnect. This is usually the culprit right here. Somebody happens to drive over this. This will pull loose, but it's just a little plug that does like that. Plugs right back in. And there are a few of those. So if it's beeping, you can just follow the black wire all the way around the yard and see if there's a break somewhere. But usually that's where it's gonna break off. The goats are going to see you and know that you're about to give them some food. So they'll come down this way, and they usually take that path there because they can't go this way across that wire. And they'll meet you around here, and they will obnoxiously rub up against you and all that kind of stuff. But what I do, Grace and I do some things a little different, but I very carefully open this guy and leave them out. And then I put the horses in their stall first, and then I come back. I don't feed the horses or anything like that. I just kind of get them in their stall. And then I come back and let the goats in. And the only way to really do that is with their food, to get them into their area. So I'll show you that in a second. But first thing in the morning, I typically get the goats out first, and I'll get a whole scoop of sweet feed, and I'll bring it back here to this door. And this is swinging open, it's fine, whatever. So I'll put half there, half there. Then as the goats are munching on that on either side, I close this back so that I'm on the inside and I can deal with the horses, and the goats are on the outside and they can't get back in. If Tammy, sometimes she'll push this and squeeze through, but usually she'll follow you out. She wants to be with her sister anyway. So, and used his halter and gotten him into his stall there and closed it up. And then Angel usually just walks right into hers, but closed her up. And then I will usually open this guy, and these 2 buckets that are in here, the 2 black ones, I fill with a half scoop each of sweet feed before I let the goats in. And then I put those 2 buckets, usually actually I hold them and walk to the goat fence, open it up, have them follow me, and then just keep the buckets up so that they don't try to eat it right out of your hand, and then separate it, and then they will go to town on the food and they won't try to get out while they're eating. One of the things to be sure of though is don't, whatever you do, leave this open. So if you fill their buckets up and you leave this open, and especially if you leave this top off, they'll stick their heads down in one of these buckets and it's really tough to get them back off. One thing also that I forgot to mention, in each food bucket, you want to put one pill only at night. One of these pills, and this just sits here. There should be plenty. I think there's another box of them there, but just drop one pill into each bucket mixed in with the food, and that's all you need to do once a day. Right. Okay, so in the morning, you'll come down with your 2 buckets of hot water and give Angel 2.5 scoops of this food here, and then let that soak in her nasty looking bucket. Usually you want the water about 1 inch above the food, and it only takes about 4 or 5 minutes, and it'll soak through and kind of look like a gross gritty porridge. Oh, hey there, Audi. And then you'll give Audi his grain as well. So he gets about 2/3 scoop of the sweet feed and about 2/3 scoop of just the grain here. And then you can take that to them, and I always let them go ahead and eat that, and I walk back up to the house. I do it early so I don't let the goats out, but you can go ahead and let the goats out and do it all at once. And then I give them about 20-30 minutes to eat first. And the reason I do that is because the only time they get weird and feisty is about their food, and especially about their grain, really. So then when I come back down and don't let the goats in, I grab their buckets before I let them out, and grab their buckets from there, and I put them, as you just saw, right inside the feed room, the tack room, and that way they cannot fight over that all day. And so after I've done that, then I let them out. So they've been fed their grain, they've gotten out, and now they're kind of out to roam. So what we do is give them some hay out here, and I think Grace put the amount that you give to them on the sheet, but basically we usually separate it out. So I'll put half of it in this thing here, and maybe the other half I just kind of stand up over there. And so then they've got hay for the day. You can double check their water also, which is on this other side. They've got this big water bucket over here, and it looks like it actually needs some water, so I'll go ahead and fill that up as well. Fed them, let them out, giving them their hay to munch on for the day. I like to go ahead and handle their stalls so that at night all you have to really do is give them grain and put them up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and here. Now, because Angel eats her food all gross, like, and half of it falls out of her mouth, Audi is weird about her stall. So you'll see him creeping over here, and he knows he's not supposed to, so get out of here, boy. So what I do is go ahead and fill these nets up as much as they'll be filled up. And here comes Audi into her stall. Hey, get out, go, 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 get out, go. So I'll go ahead and fill this up. And Angel doesn't need a net as bad as Audi does, so I wouldn't fool with trying to hook this back up. It's a little bit annoying. So I'm gonna do that. And I go ahead and fill up their water, and I go ahead and muck out their stalls. So to muck, you have a couple options. If it's easier for you, you can just bring this little bucket inside and then dump it into here. And then when this gets full, you just roll it over to this area over here and dump it on that pile. Or for me, what I prefer to do to keep Audi out, I will move this right in front of the door like that. And then I will grab me a pitchfork. I don't like to use this one with the heavy tines. I use that for breaking up their shavings when I put a new bag of shavings in. But this one or the other one over there that's similar, it's red, works a lot better. So then I just kind of get up in here and muck this out. If you need a new bag of shavings, they and a knife are in the tack room. So I'll scoop this stuff out, and Bird that he is always just stands there and waits. You can tell he wants to get in. So we're full of hay here, and I'm gonna put some more water in here. And then we're nice and clean in there. And after I put water in there, then I'm gonna close this door for sure once I move this out of the way, because otherwise Audi will spend all day trying to get in there, and he and Angel might fight over it. So it's typically better just to leave the bottom half closed. You can leave the top open. And again, remember just to make sure the bucket's not in there with the remnants of the food. And I'm just gonna go over and do the same thing. I mentioned this, but this does have a valve on it. And leaving this off while you're doing other stuff is fine. It may drip a little bit, but it doesn't waste a ton of water. But if it's going to freeze, I would definitely recommend at night making sure that this thing is completely full. And that way they're good with water, because this will not turn on. All the connections that are all the way up tend to freeze. And you'll just have to leave this out during the day to get warm. And very worst case, you may have to scoop some of this water into their buckets for their nighttime water. And hopefully at nighttime this will have thawed anyway, and that's when you can fill up the water if you can't during the day. The other thing too I was going to mention is that usually when I know it's going to freeze overnight, I will leave this valve open. I'll just pop it in here all the way down to the bottom. I'll turn it on and let it overflow if it's going to as I walk up, and turn it off at the house, and then I disconnect it at the house. And that way the gravity will pull all the water down to here as much as possible, which will just make things easier the next day. The goats, as far as their stall, looks like the horse actually closed the top one. I like to leave the top open of all the stalls during the day just to kind of help air them out. As far as mucking, you shouldn't have to worry about it. Their little pellets don't make enough of a mess to worry about. Usually end up mucking this out every couple weeks, and I just did it. Their urine just goes through. They don't have stall mats, so it tends to just kind of soak into the gravel down beneath and run on behind the shed. So shouldn't have to worry about that. I also do dump out the bucket every single day. And don't get too close to the fence on the backside, because eventually I'll come in with the tractor and move all this stuff, and I don't want to have to be right up against the fence. So I usually drive the tractor around and scoop from this way some and push it out. But if you leave the stuff in the bucket too much and it happens to rain overnight or something, it gets super heavy, and that's annoying. So it's best just to go ahead and dump it out each day after you're done mucking the stalls. Audie's hay net, we do stuff his all the way full with hay. Again, I like to do all the stuff in the morning so that at night I don't have to fool with anything except the grain and put them up. But this is a bit more annoying because you do tend to need to latch this one. So what you've got is this that goes on this. The difficult part is keeping this upright while you're trying to guide the top part down onto it. So see, as I try to move it, it moves. So I have to use one hand to do this and kind of hold it. See if I can get the video on it. So I use one finger, but you can also smash your finger pretty easy. So I kind of wiggle this down a little bit until I can just barely start to get it in that little groove. And now that I feel that it's straight and in there, just the first part of it, and now I can just shove the rest of it down on there, and then that kind of locks into place so that it can't move. And it sticks out and looks kind of funny, but that keeps him from just destroying it and just making a bed for himself with it or whatever. So now I got his clean, got his water full. His stall's good to go for tonight. I'm gonna close this bottom part up, leave it open so it can air out. Sometimes you kind of gotta jimmy this a little bit to get it closed. So he's good there. We got our water full there. She's good. Everything is ready to go, and I can go up. So again, if it's the morning time, that's what I like to do. And if it's the evening time, all you should have to do is come in, go ahead and put them up, give them their grain, close them up, and they're done. You do want to take his halter off at night, and then go back to the gate, let the goats in, put the goats up, and then close them up as well. So one of the things I do sometimes too during the morning is I go ahead and grab their buckets too, just so everybody's feed bucket is out of their stall and ready to go. So all I gotta do is feed the horses, put them up, and then put a little half scoop of sweet feed in each of these, go back to the gate, let the goats in, leave the gate open at that point, and then put their sweet feed in and close them up, and you're good to go. The horses, the goats, as far as their water, they drink way less. So I check it every couple days. but they've still got a ton, and they've got some they can get to as they orbit the house during the day as well.